Yes, good evening all. This is the environment class number 3 for RB 215, right? Come on, welcome all. Let us start the class. We are already late by 4 minutes. Yes, good evening Ruchi Singh. Where we stopped in the previous class, we discussed regarding the biological interactions. Come on. Let us have a quick recap of what we discussed in the previous class. We were discussing the biological interaction in the syn ecology. The syn ecology talks about the population ecology and the community ecology, how the species are interacting with the another species as a group. One population is interacting with other population. These biological interactions can be divided into two types. One is called as the positive biological interactions, another one is called as negative biological interaction. Whenever we are talking about the positive biological interaction where the species are getting benefited because of the mutual interaction, when the mutual interaction leads to death of or inhibition of any animal or any species, where it is called as negative biological interaction. These are the two types of interactions. Under the positive biological interactions, we started with what is called as the mutualism, and we discussed mutualism. There are two types within the mutualism. One is called as the symbiosis, another one is called as proto-cooperation. The symbiosis is also called as the compulsory or obligate mutualism. Whenever there is a relation, whenever the two species are in close association, then only they will be benefited. If they are moving apart, they will be dying or they will be degraded. They will be inhibited whenever they are moving away from each other. There is another type of mutualism, another one called as, what is another one called as the proto-cooperation. In this one, if they are not coming in association, they will be living individually, they will be surviving very perfectly, but whenever they come in association, then they will get benefited. The best example, the caterpillars and the red ants, as discovered by the Indian National Institute of the National Center for Biological Studies, Bangalore. Right? This is where we stopped in the previous class. Now, let us start with the second one. After the mutualism, the second one is called as, the next one is called as commensalism. Give the next very important type of interaction is called as commensalism. The next type of biological interaction, come on, write down alternately, listen this one, write, and I will be dictating, right? Where we stopped, it is in the symbiosis, the proto-cooperation. Proto-cooperation otherwise called as the facultative mutualism, right? Then the second one called as commensalism. What do you mean by commensalism? Commensalism is also called as positive neutral interaction. What is called as? Is called as the plus zero interaction. What do you mean by plus zero interaction? Where some of the species, whenever there are two species like A species and the B species are interacting with each other, one species is getting benefited. Because of the association of this species is getting benefited, but other species, neither it is getting benefited nor it is adversely affected. It is neutral. Means what? One species is remaining neutral, another species is getting benefited. Such type of interaction is called as commensalism. Write down commensalism. Come on, citing commensalism. In this biological type of interaction, come on, in the commensalism type of interaction, in the commensalism type of interaction, In the commensalism type of interaction, you can find in the commensalism type of interaction, एक काम करिए वो आप पे अवसरों में आधा बॉटल है वो लेके in the commensalism type of interaction, one species get benefited due to interaction, whereas the other species remains neutral. The other species remains neutral. What is the what is this interaction? Come on. Didn't we discuss mutualism and dictation is not done in the mutualism? Was the dictation was there in the mutualism or not? Come on, respond. Mutualism was dictated or not? If it is dictated, then fine, write commensalism. If it is not dictated, you write down. Respond. What do you mean by positive and negative interaction? Nothing but positive interaction is nothing but whenever the species are getting benefited is called as positive. Whenever the species is not getting benefited is called as negative interaction. Done. Okay. Everyone is giving the dictation, telling that the mutualism dictation was done, so it is done. Come on, come to the commensalism. What is commensalism? In the commensalism type of biological interaction, one species get positively benefited, the other species is neutral, it is not affected. What is the best example? Come on, best example. In the equatorial type of forest, in the equatorial type of region where you can find a very important species called as epiphytes. This is called as epiphyte. What is a epiphyte? Listen this one, very important. Don't write, listen, after that you can, I will be explaining, you can write. Come on, listen the example. After writing what you mean by commensalism, stop writing, listen. In the equatorial type of climatic regions, in the equatorial type of climatic regions, you can find certain species which are called as epiphytes. What are epiphytes? Epiphytes are such a species where they will be taking birth on the stem of other species. They are acting just like a bird on the stem of other species. It may be a big plant, a huge plant. It may be a very large plant where it is called as the vascular plant. This is the vascular plant. Over this vascular plant, some other species will be taking birth and it will be remaining here. It will be getting all the positive benefited, like never it will be taking the nutrients of this tree. This is the never it will be vascular trees, not the plant. It's called as the vascular trees. They are called as the vascular trees, which are very huge, they gigantic in size. Over this one, a bird will arise. The bird will be there on this one. On this tree there can be a small bird. This bird will never act as parasite. Absolutely not. It will not act as a parasite. What is a parasite? Parasite is a other creature which will be sucking all the nutrients from the host. Now this is not a parasite. This particular bird will be taking just support, physical support to stay here. It will be producing its own food material from the sunlight. It will be having all sorts of chemical energy from the sunlight. It can prepare the photosynthesis. All these things will be done. No energy is being consumed from this tree to this bird, but for the sake of support, these birds will be staying on this one. As and when the birds will be growing sufficient, when the birds grow sufficient, the roots will be coming and they will be sticking onto the ground and it becomes the independent tree. Such type of independent trees are called as the epiphytes. These are epiphytes. They take birth as a bird on the other vascular trees. These are called as epiphytes. Normally where the trees grow on the soil, on the surface of the earth, but there are certain plants, there are certain trees where they grow over the stems of other plants. Such type of plants are called as epiphytes. The best example. What is the best example? The best example is banyan. Banyan, such a huge tree, is basically epiphyte. It's a basically epiphyte. This is a epiphyte where it will be growing on as a bird on the other tree. Now, when it is growing as a bird on the other tree, who is positively benefited? Epiphyte will be positively benefited. What is happening to this vascular tree? Neither it is inhibited, neither it is or positively benefited. Neither it is inhibited nor positively benefited. Therefore, for this vascular tree, there is no harm or no impact, which is called as this is 0. Whereas this one, this is positively impacted, means what? Positively benefited. Such type of birds that are there over the trees in the equatorial region, they are called as propagules. They are called as the propagules. Very important term. In fact, in one of the preliminary part of the UPSC, they have talked about the propagules. The question was not on the propagule, but they discussed about the propagules. What are the propagules? Propagules are the small projections which are acting as birds on the other larger tree. What is that other larger tree called as? They are called as vascular trees. What is the literal meaning of the vascular tree? Vascular trees are those gigantic high level trees where the system of xylem and phloem are perfectly developed. The system of xylem and phloem are developed, perfectly developed. What do you mean by the xylem and the phloem? Again, see, understand this one. This is not related to commensalism. Just I am giving the example or explanation for xylem and phloem. What do you mean by the xylem and phloem? Just like our body where we are having arteries and veins, just like in our body where we are having arteries and veins. What are arteries? Arteries are these blood vessels where they will be carrying the pure blood from the heart to all parts of the body. What are veins then? Veins are those transportation lines in our body where they will be bringing all the impure blood towards the heart from all parts of the body. Here, this is what the system that is present in our body. On the same lines, even for the tree, there are two systems. One is called as xylem, another is called as phloem. What is xylem? Now understand this one. On the top of the tree, what is there? Leaves are there. What is the duty of the leaves? They prepare the photo energy, converts into chemical energy. Means what? The energy is being produced by the leaf. That energy needs to be supplied to all parts of the tree. From the leaf, the energy will be supplied to the branches, stem, even to the roots. This is one way, which is top to down. This transportation of energy from the leaves to all parts of the body is done by the xylem. These are the roots where the energy is being transported from the leaves to all parts of the body. This is the xylem. Then what is the phloem? Phloem is nothing but the roots are the one which are the inputs. Means what? The roots are the one which can intake the nutrients, maybe nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium from the soil. Also they absorb the water. When the water is observed, when the nutrients are observed, from where the nutrients needs to be supplied to, the nutrients needs to be supplied from the roots to all parts of the body. This is what called as phloem. Just like the similar mechanism of our body, like arteries and veins. Got the point? This is the xylem and phloem. Whichever the plant which is larger in size and it is well developed xylem and phloem mechanism is there, such type of trees are called as the vascular trees. These vascular trees are largely found on the surface of the earth, basically in the rich rainforest region. on the rainforest region, on these vascular trees in the rainforest region, you can find the small birds which are otherwise called as the epiphytes. Such a shoots, such a birds, such a shoots, they are called as propagules. Where do you find a very great propagules? The propagules are present in the equatorial region, right? This is the additional information apart from commensalism. This is the best example. The best example for commensalism is the vascular plants and the propagules, especially the epiphytes. Is that clear? The next example, where one species is positively benefited, another one is not affected. The best example is the scavengers are nothing but the animals like vultures or hyenas that are feeding on dead animals. That are feeding on the dead animals. Where the vultures will be feeding on? Vultures will not eat those species which are alive. Only they will be feeding on the dead animals. Whenever the animal dies, then only the vulture eats that particular animal. That a corpus. The corpus nothing but the body of the dead animal. Right? Whenever the animal is dead, can it get affected positive or negative? It is zero. Whereas for the vulture or for the hyena, the energy is there where they are positively affected. This is what the best example for commensalism. This is about the commensalism. Is it clear? One positive interaction is mutualism. Within this one you can find symbiosis and the proto-cooperation. The second one is called as commensalism. These are the two very important positive interactions. Clear? This is about the positive interaction. This is the commensalism where you can find the two species. One is positively affected, another one is not affected at all. Also, you can give some more examples. What are the some more examples? Like clownfish and anemone. Another example. There are so many such examples. Clownfish and anemone. What is this clownfish and anemone? Whenever you are seeing the clownfish is the one which is beautifully in appearance. It appears so beautiful, a small fish. Whenever a predator comes, it hides in the tentacles of the sea anemone. The sea anemone is a species where it is having all the tentacles. These tentacles are stingent for the other predators. They are stinging, means what? They are acting just like a thorns. But whereas for the clownfish, the fish can accommodate within the tentacles. The fish can go inside the tentacles and will not be visible to the predators. Where the clownfish is positively benefited by saving from the predators, but the sea anemone is not getting anything, like there is no positive or negative, where it is neutral. Such type of interaction is called as commensalism. These are the three very important examples for the commensalism. Right? It is commensalism. What is commensalism? Positive zero interaction. Come on, write on the examples. Come on, write on the examples. Epiphytes is the best example. Commensalism best example is epiphytes. The epiphytes develop as a bird over the large vascular trees. Come on, write on. Epiphytes develops as birds over the large vascular trees. They are called as propagules. Spelling is there on the board. They are called as propagules. These propagules never consume any nutrients from the vascular trees. These propagules never consume any nutrients from the vascular trees, but they make use of vascular trees. The propagules never never take nutrients from the vascular trees, but they use the vascular trees for the support. Therefore, the epiphytes are positively benefited, whereas the vascular trees are unaffected. Second one, vultures or hyenas feeding on the dead corpus, DEAD, dead corpus, CORPS. The vultures and the hyenas are positively impacted, whereas the dead animal, there is no impact on the dead animal. No impact on the dead animal. Right? The third one, clownfish and anemone. The clownfish gets hides in the stingent, STIGNANT, stingent tentacles of sea anemone. When a predator comes close, by hiding in the tentacles, the clownfish get benefited. Vultures and hyenas feeding on dead corpus. That is the second example, right? Who will be positively benefited? Vultures and hyenas. Whereas dead animals not affected. Third one, clownfish. Spelling is there on the board. Clownfish and sea anemone. Simply called as anemone. Clownfish hides in the stingent or nothing but the sting-like, STING, sting-like tentacles of anemone. When a predator comes nearby, thereby saves from predator and is positively impacted. Whereas there is no impact on sea anemone. These are the very best examples for what is called as commensalism. Now coming to very, very important, it's called as negative biological interactions. Negative biological interactions. What are these negative biological interactions? The first and foremost is called as predation. The second one, parasitism. Then the third one, competition. Predation, parasitism, competition. There are three. One is called as the predation, parasitism and the competition. Come on, let us see this one. The first one, predation. What is predation? Predation is also called as plus minus interaction. Predation is also called as plus minus interaction. What do you mean by the predation? Whenever there is a interaction between two species, one species is positively benefited, other species is inhibited like anything. The best example. What is the best example? Tiger is interacting with the deer. When the tiger is interacting with the deer, what happens? The tiger kills the deer and it is positively benefited. It is impacted positively, whereas for the deer died. Therefore, it is negative. This is the best example for the predation. Also, the second example. What is the second example? The second example, deer and grass. When the deer is grazing or eating the grass, or a cattle is grazing the grass, whatever you can take the case, whether you can take the deer or cattle or you talk about any other animal which is eating the grass. Whenever the grass is being eaten by, whenever the grass is eaten, what is happening? The grass is negatively impacted. The grass will not be there, whereas the deers are positively benefited. The deers are positively benefited, right? This is about the predation. Right on? Predation. In the predation type of interaction, one species is positively benefited, another species is negatively inhibited. Example, deer or lion and the deer. You can write any species like deer and the lion or the tiger and the deer. Tiger is positively benefited, the deer is negatively impacted. And in the case of deer and the grass, where the deer is getting positively affected, whereas grass is negatively impacted, right? Then the next one is called as parasitism. Parasitism is also called as plus minus interaction. See this one? Parasitism is also called as plus minus interaction, where within this parasitism there are two types. One is called as brood parasitism. Another is called as facultative parasitism. Now understand this one. What do you mean by brood parasitism? What do you mean by facultative parasitism? What is basically the parasitism? Nothing but whenever the biological interaction takes place between two species, one species will be getting positively benefited, the other species is inhibited. Therefore, this is equated to predation. But within this one, there are two types. What are the two types? One is called as brood parasitism, which is very, very important. What do you mean by brood parasitism? In this type of interaction, one species is positively benefited, the other species is killed. See this one. One species is positively benefited, other is killed. The death of the host takes place. Death of the host. Great loss for the host takes place. The host, which is giving some benefit, which is giving some nutrients for the parasite, that parasite is keep on consuming so much of nutrients which are depriving the nutrients for the host, and ultimately the host is killed. That is what called as brood parasitism. Also, the next one is called as facultative parasitism. What is this facultative parasitism? Here also you can find positive and negative, but there is no death of definitely the host will be affected negatively, but no death occurs. No death occurs for host. Great loss or no death occur for host. What is the best example? Give the heading as parasitism and say that it is a positive negative interaction plus minus interaction. Within this one there are two. Come on, there are two types of parasitism. Write down. Parasitism. In this biological interaction, one species is positively affected, another one is negatively impacted. Positively affected, another one is negatively impacted. There are two types. One is called as brood, B-R-O-O-D, brood parasitism. Another one facultative, side-heading brood. Side-heading brood parasitism. What is that brood parasitism? In this one, the host is negatively impacted and the death is the death of the host takes place. The death of the host takes place, or there is a great irreversible damage for the host. Death of the host, in the brood parasitism, the host is negatively impacted. The death of the host takes place, or irreversible damage happens for the host. Irreversible damage takes place for the host. Whereas parasite will be having positively, parasite will be having all positive benefits. Example, don't write facultative. Example, within the brood. Example. What is the example? The example is very, very important. Cuckoo and cowbird. Cuckoo and cowbird. What is this relation? Come on, understand this one. What this cuckoo will be doing? The cuckoo will be laying the eggs of cuckoo in the cowbird's nest. Suppose if this is a nest, if the nest of the host, this is a cowbird, if this is the bird, if it is like this. This is a small bird which is called as cowbird, and it is having its own eggs like this. Without the knowledge of this cowbird, now the cuckoo comes, the cuckoo which is the larger one, it comes and lays the eggs, its egg here like this, where it maintains the same color of the egg, where, so that this cowbird cannot identify the egg of the cuckoo, where this is called as egg mimicry. It mimics the egg of the cowbird. It's called as mimicry. This is called as egg mimicry. What do you mean by egg mimicry? The cuckoo develops such eggs which are almost all similar to that of the cowbird, so that the cowbird cannot identify whether that is the egg of its own or someone. This is called as egg mimicry. Without knowing the, or without having the knowledge that that egg belongs to some other species, this cowbird keep on rearing the egg. The moment when the egg hatches, the cuckoo offspring comes out. This cuckoo offspring, the moment when it comes out, it will try to kill all its siblings. Wherever the siblings, what are the siblings here? This is 1, 2, 3, these are the siblings. All the 3 eggs will be destroyed by the cuckoo bird. See, the small bird, just now it has taken birth and it will be killing all the eggs by throwing the eggs out of the nest. And it will be keep on feeded by the cowbird. The cowbird will be keep on feeding as if it is its offspring, without knowing that this is not its bird. It will be keep on feeding as and when the cowbird grows sufficiently, then it even destroys sometimes the nest or it goes off. This is what happens for the cowbird. Cowbird couldn't understand what is happening, what happened to its own eggs, what happens to its nest, it cannot understand. By the time this will be flying away, this is called as cuckoo. What is this parasite? It's called as brood parasite. Suppose, see this one. Now what is a new thing that is discovered here? The ecologist came out with a new hypothesis. The ecologist came out with a new hypothesis called as mafia hypothesis. What do you mean by hypothesis? Probability. It's not a theory. What is the difference between the theory and the hypothesis? Theory can be proved, hypothesis cannot be proved, right? Now the ecologist came out with a new hypothesis called as mafia hypothesis. What is this mafia hypothesis? Within the brood parasite. Within the brood parasitism, what do you mean by mafia hypothesis? Pay attention. What is this hypothesis? It says that suppose when the cowbird identifies that the egg that is present in its nest is not the egg of the cowbird. if it tries to segregate the egg, if it tries not to rear the egg, if it tries not to give some food for the young cuckoo bird, then what the mother cuckoo will do? The mother cuckoo will come and destroys all the nest. It destroys the nest of the cowbird, it destroys the eggs of the cowbird, and the entire nest is been removed off. It will get collapsed. Such a hypothesis is called as Mafia hypothesis. This is called as Mafia hypothesis. This is what happening. Let you write all these things, come on. By the time I play a small video, come on, write down that one. Parasitism, there are two types of parasitism. There are two types of parasitism. One is called as brood parasite. One is called as brood parasitism. One is called as the brood parasitism. And you write whatever been explained. The best example, cuckoo and the cowbird. Best example, cuckoo and the cowbird. Cuckoo lays the eggs in the nest of the cowbird. Cuckoo lays the eggs in the cowbird, mimicking the egg of the cowbird. Mimicking, M-I-M-I-C-I-N-G, mimicking the egg of the cowbird, so that the cowbird cannot identify the cuckoo egg. So that, first of all, write what I am dictating, then we can go for the other things. So that the cowbird cannot identify the egg of cuckoo. Without the knowledge of the cuckoo egg, cowbird rears the egg. Cowbirds rears the egg. When the egg hatches, the offspring of cuckoo destroys. When the egg hatches, H-A-T-C-H-E-S, when the egg hatches, the offspring of cuckoo destroys the eggs of cowbirds. Destroy the eggs of cowbird. Destroy the eggs of cowbird. And consumes all the food provided by the cowbird, and the cuckoo bird grows in size. The cuckoo bird grows in size. After growing sufficiently, it flies off. After growing sufficiently, it flies off, or it destroys the nest of the host. It destroys the nest of the host. Full stop. Side heading Mafia hypothesis. Come on. Side heading Mafia hypothesis. Side heading Mafia hypothesis. The ecologists recently came up with Mafia hypothesis. In the case of brood parasitism, it states that if the host identifies and reject the rearing of, if the host identify and rejects the rearing of, R-E-A-R-I-N-G, rearing the eggs of the parasite, rearing the eggs of, E-G-G, eggs of parasite, then the parasite destroys all the nest and kills, destroy the entire nest of the host and kills its offsprings. Its offspring. Full stop. This is Murphy hypothesis. Come on, let us watch a small video. Yes, come on, watch this video.
Just next door, in an even smaller nest, the female reed warbler incubates its 4 eggs. One of the brood is starting to hatch. However, it is not the young reed warbler. 2 weeks ago, a female cuckoo, unseen by the reed warbler, dropped her egg into this nest. Now the young cuckoo hatches. As the first of the brood, the reed warbler did not notice the trick and now feeds the young as if it were its own. The young cuckoo needs to throw the other eggs out of the nest. If it doesn't do this, then the parents will not be able to feed all the nestlings. But the first attempts are not successful. The cuckoo is still too weak. It tries again. It must push the egg above the edge of the nest. It is a big effort. The determination of the weak cuckoo nestling to get rid of the competition is amazing to see. After a few hours, it has another go. This time, there's some success. The first egg landed in the water. When it throws out the second egg, the cuckoo almost follows it out of the nest itself. Now, for the last one. Alone at last. The ever-open, bright red beak and the constant peeping from the cuckoo prompts the reed warblers to bring it food without a break. Now all the insects and spiders end up in its beak. With such intensive feeding, the young cuckoo reaches its adult size in just 2 weeks. It is so large that when it sits on the nest it must hold tight so it doesn't fall off. In a strong wind, the nest may even break apart under its weight. Although the cuckoo is by now much bigger than the reed warblers, they still treat it as if it's one of their own nestlings. Even after it has left the nest, they will still feed it. At the end of August, the young cuckoo will start its lonely journey to Africa. It will return next spring, maybe even to the same reed bed, and try to toss an egg into a reed warbler's nest.
Could you understand this one? This is what is the nature. In the nature, these things are happening. Where are we learning from? We are learning from the nature, right? Man is such a being where he didn't just discovered or invented the flight by seeing the bird. Also he learned something, cruelty, even from the nature. Okay, that is a different story. Come on. Could you please switch off this one? Okay, fine. Now this is called as the brood parasite. Very, very important. Within the brood parasite, what are the two important things? One is called as egg mimicry, mimicking the egg. so that the birds cannot identify its the egg as another bird's egg. This is called as egg mimicry. The second one is called as the mafia hypothesis. Okay, what is this mafia hypothesis? What is mafia hypothesis? Mafia hypothesis is that hypothesis where it is the ecologists are believing this one. It's not yet proved scientifically. It's not yet proved scientifically, where the ecologists, some of the ecologists came up with this hypothesis. Probably the adult cuckoo means what? The mother cuckoo, if the cowbird identify the egg of this mother cuckoo, and if it rejects to rear that egg. Why? Because mother cowbird knew very well that if it is rearing that cuckoo egg, this cuckoo egg is going to kill all its own offspring. Therefore, if it identifies and if it rejects to rear that particular cuckoo egg, then the mother cuckoo comes and destroys the entire nest. That is what called as the mafia hypothesis. Okay, it's not scientifically proved, but still some of the ecologists are believing this is going to happen. That's why even though the cowbird knew that that is somebody's egg, it is forced to rear. Clear? This is about this is the explanation. I am not dictating, right? This is the explanation I made. Is that okay? This is what the brood parasite. Already I dictated. Fine? This is what the brood parasite. Within the brood parasite you can find two things. One is called as egg mimicry and one is mafia hypothesis. Is that clear? Then coming to the next one called as facultative parasitism. What do you mean by the facultative parasitism? Come on, understand this one. What do you mean by facultative parasitism? Didn't you write these things? Already I have dictated. Didn't you write this one? The concept is clear. Put it in your own words, right? Now, what do you mean by facultative parasitism? Come on, understand this one. In this type of biological interaction, where the host will be negatively impacted, but the death of the host cannot take place. Because the parasite is so small, it cannot lead to the death of the host. The best example like lice, ticks, leech, lice, ticks, leeches. What are these leeches? Leeches are the one where they will be sucking the blood of the animal or the human. Can it create the death of the man? No. Ticks, small ticks where they will be biting and they will be consuming the blood, but they cannot create the death of the host. Even the lice that are there in the head of the human, the lice will be consuming the blood of the human and they can stay very comfortably, but what happens? You can't find the death of the host. This is called as facultative parasitism. Is it clear? This is about the facultative parasitism. The third one is called as competition. The third one called as competition. Write out the facultative parasitism. Facultative parasitism. In this interaction, the parasite is positively, the parasite positively benefited, whereas the death of the host, whereas the host is negatively impacted, but that doesn't lead to the death or irreversible loss to the host. But that doesn't lead to the death or irreversible IRR, irreversible loss for the host, right? This is about the facultative parasitism. The next one, competition. Come on, see the competition. What do you mean by competition? The competition type of interaction is minus minus. In this type of interaction, both the species gets negatively impacted. There is no question of positive impact. Whereas the predation, parasitism, at least one species is positively getting benefited, but whereas here in the competition, the two species are negatively impacted. What are the different types of competition? Come on. I am showing the competition on the other side. Come on. The competition is of two types. The competition is of two types. One is called as interspecific competition. Another one is called as intraspecific. Interspecific competition, intraspecific. Interspecific means what? Interspecific is nothing but the competition between different species, where it is also called as contest. Contest competition is also called as contest competition. This is called as the contest competition, whereas the intraspecific is called as scramble. Scramble competition. These are the two different names they are given. What do you mean by, see the one, what do you mean by interspecific, what do you mean by intraspecific? What is interspecific? Where the two species are not of same category. They are not of the same category. Means what? Maybe a lion and tiger. Both they are interacting for one deer. When there is a competition between, see what is the food for lion? Deer. What is the food for tiger? Against deer. Therefore, whenever the food is one and the same, these two species will be having a very great competition, and within no time what happens? You can find the killing of one species by the other. This is what happens. Before going to kill one species, this species will not be having all domination. It will be bleeding like anything because of a very great inevitable fight. Therefore, both the species will be at loss. This is what called as the competition that is happening, where the two species are negatively impacted. With this, based on this particular interspecific, where it is called as contest competition, they brought a very great law called as Gauss rule. This is called as the Gauss rule. This is otherwise called as competition exclusion principle. Gauss rule is otherwise called as competitive exclusion principle. What do you mean by the Gauss rule? What do you mean by competitive exclusion principle? Understand this one. When the two species are having the same ecological niche, when the two species are having the same ecological niche, now we are coming to the new term. When the two species are having the same ecological niche, the two species cannot stay indefinitely in the same habitat. See the new two terms? Till now we didn't discuss these two. What are the two terms? What the Gauss rule says? The Gauss rule says that whenever the two species are competing for the same ecological niche, then they cannot stay in the same location for an indefinite time period. What do you mean by the habitat? What do you mean by the niche? First of all, understand these two, then we'll understand what do you mean by the Gauss rule. What is a habitat? Come on. Habitat is nothing but a place of living. What is habitat? Is a place of living. Simply called as house. It's called as house. Instead of home, write down as house. The house of living of a species. Whenever you are talking about the house, means what? In the general understanding, if at all, Where is your house? If I am asking, then you will be giving your address. Nothing but it is your address. It is the address of the species. The address of the species is nothing but the habitat. But what do you mean by niche? Niche is nothing but the job of the job of the species. You can understand like this in a very common language. What do you mean by niche and what is habitat? Habitat, whenever we are comparing with the address, then what is niche? Niche is nothing but the job of that particular fellow. Suppose if there is a fellow A, where this fellow is living? This fellow is living in the Gandhinagar. Is there? He is staying in the Gandhinagar. What is address? Address is the Gandhinagar. What is this fellow is doing? This fellow is a software engineer. What is software engineering? Nothing but is the job of that fellow. Nothing but niche of that fellow. Is it clear? This is general understanding. Now let us see the compare with the same understanding in the scientific or the ecological terms. Habitat is a place of living, whereas the ecological niche is nothing but the functional role of the species. The functional role of the species. What do you mean by the functional role? Each and every species has got its own functional role. There is no question of same functional role by any two species. Absolutely not. What is the best example? Collection of the nectar from the flowers is the functional role of honeybees. It is only the honeybee which can collect the nectar, no other species. Therefore, the collection role is called as the functional role. What is the ecological niche of honeybees? Collecting nectar. Could you understand? This is what called as the functional role. Each and every species has got its own functional role. Each and every species has got its own functional role. There are different types of ecological niche. Like one is called as habitat niche. One is called as habitat niche. The another one is called as food niche. The last one is called as reproductive niche. Means what? What is a niche? Niche is nothing but the unique or specific function of a species. The best example, honeybee will be collecting the nectar. That is what the functional role. On the same lines, the niche are of different types. Habitat niche. What is this habitat niche? Specific species can be living in specific habitat only. If that habitat is not there, the species will not be there. What is that niche? Niche is specific function, specific role, because of having specific climatic conditions in that particular region. Then only the species can live comfortably. This is what called as habitat niche. Then food niche. What do you mean by food niche? Food niche is nothing but having a specific food for that particular species. If that food is not there, there is no question of life for that other species. Food niche means what? That the species is eating one specific food. That food is not available, then there is no question of survival of that species. It's called as food niche. Then the last one, reproductive niche. The species will be breeding internally. Means what? Internal breeding. They will be breeding, they will be producing the offsprings within the same species. Means what? Whenever there is a crossing, whenever there is a mating, the reproduction should happen. With whatever the species they are crossing and they are mating, then the reproduction takes place. This is called as reproductive niche. Means what? The niche is a specific function of the species. It can be either food, it can be habitat, it can be reproduction. Is it clear? These are the three different types of niches. Come on, write on. Write on the habitat and the niche. Come on, write on habitat and niche. After this, we can talk about the competition. Habitat and the niche. What is a habitat? Habitat is a place of living. Habitat is a place of living. After the habitat, give the heading as niche, ecological niche. The term ecological niche is given by Mr. Grinnell, Grinnell. The term ecological niche is given by Mr. Grinnell. The term ecological niche is given by Mr. Grinnell, Grinnell, in 1971 to explain the microhabitat. To explain the microhabitat and the functional role. To explain the microhabitat and the functional role of the species. Full stop. Ecological niche is a more ecological species is more inclusive term. Ecological niche is more inclusive term. Inclusive, INCLUSIVE, is more inclusive term that involves not only the physical space occupied, by the species, but also its functional role in the community. That occupies not only the physical space of the species, but also its functional role in the community. Full stop. The ecological niches are of three types. The ecological niches are of three types. One, ecological niches are of three types. One, habitat niche. Two, food niche. Third one, reproductive niche. Habitat, food and reproductive niche. Siding, habitat niche. It is a place where species live. It is a place where the species live. Food niche. This means what the species eat and decompose. Food niche is what the species eats and decompose. Reproductive niche, where and how the species reproduce. Where and how the species reproduce. Where and how the species reproduce. Now, full stop. Give the siding. Competition. Siding, competition. This type of biological interaction is also called as minus-minus interaction. Competition siding is also called as minus-minus interaction. It is called as minus-minus interaction. It is of two types. It is of two types. One is called as contest competition. One is called as contest competition, otherwise called as interspecific competition. Interspecific. The second one is called as intraspecific. Interspecific and intraspecific. Interspecific is called as contest, whereas intraspecific is called as scramble competition. It's called as scramble competition. Give the siding interspecific. Interspecific competition. When there's two species, very important, write on this one, when two species are competing for limited resources, for the same limited resources, when two species are competing for the same limited resources, when two species are competing for same limited resources, the two species cannot coexist. When the two species are competing for the same limited resources, the two species cannot coexist, coexist, coexist for indefinite time period in the same habitat. For indefinite time period in the same habitat. Full stop. Full stop. This as a case, as a rule given by Mr. Gauss, George Gauss. Come on, write down. This as a rule given by Mr. George Gauss, and so called as Gauss principle. This as a law or a rule given by George Gauss, G-A-U-S-E, and so it is called as Gauss principle or Gauss law. It's called as Gauss law or Gauss principle. Siding, Gauss law or Gauss principle. Give it as Gauss principle. Give it as Gauss principle. What is Gauss principle? What is Gauss principle? Come on, write down. What is the Gauss principle? Two species having the same ecological niche. Two species having the same ecological niche. Two species having same ecological niche do not persist indefinitely. Do not persist indefinitely. Close the inverted commas. Right from the two species do not persist indefinitely. Close the inverted commas. Full stop. Continue this one. This principle was restated by Hardin. The principle was restated by Hardin, H-A-R-D-I-N, as competition exclusion principle. On the board it is written. This principle was restated by Hardin in 1960. Hardin in 1960 as competition exclusion principle. Competition exclusion principle. Full stop. This is the cornerstone for ecology. This rule is the cornerstone for ecology. This rule is the cornerstone for ecology. Come on, understand this one. You can apply as someone was applying the same rule for the UPSC aspirants. Now see this one. Competition to certain extent is acceptable. Competing for the same resources cannot be accepted for a long period. When the two exact competitors are competing for the same limited resources, then both the species are negatively impacted. Because of this rule, come on, understand this one. Understand very clearly. Because of this rule, there is no question of tigers and the lions living in the same habitat. If at all you are seeing the Indian scenario, see the Indian scenario. In India, the species like tigers and the lions are having their own habitat. Very separately, distinct habitations are present. In the western part of the India, there are no tigers at all. It is the habitat of lions. The Asiatic Gir lions. Where do you find the natural habitation of the Asiatic Gir lions? In the Gujarat region. Right now it is we people, we have mixed entire species, bringing some species to this corner, taking the other species to other corner. We have mixed this one. But when everything is left to the nature will be having a unique habitation for unique species. There is no question of the clubbing of the habitations. Where the tigers are having the habitation, the Royal Bengal tiger are restricted only to the eastern side of India, the so-called Bengal region, whereas Gir lions are present only in the Gujarat region. See the west and east areas. Very clear-cut division is there. It is we people, we have translocated. Why these two species cannot live in the same location? Because of the rule. See the rule. What is the rule? Gauss principle. When two species are competing for the same limited resources, they cannot coexist for indefinite time period. This is what the condition. If they want to coexist, suppose if they want to coexist, what happens? they need to shed the character of not eating that particular food. This is what happens in the case of domestication. Understand this one? This is what has happened in the case of domestication. Earlier, wolf and the dogs and the human, all the three are having the same food called as meat. When the man is running behind animals, the man was killing the animal and started eating the muzzle of the animals. And so the wolf and so the dog. Now what the dog did, since the dog cannot compete with the wolf, dog became closer to the man by shedding its character of eating meat and started eating bones. What is the character, what is the ecological niche of the man at that point of time? Eating the muzzle, not the bone. Then the dog started eating or depending upon the bones, man depend upon the muzzle. Therefore, both they can coexist. Why the wolf and the man cannot coexist? Because the same ecological niche. Got the point? This is what the very basic principle for the domestication. What type of animals can be domesticated? Whichever animal they are not having the same ecological niche, they can be domesticated. If we can domesticate what is called as, if at all you want to you are trying to domesticate a cheetah or a tiger or a lion, what it will be doing? Something happens, a mishap happens. Here, why can't all the wolves can be domesticated? Why can dogs alone can be domesticated? This is the condition. What is the principle? The principle is called as Gauss principle. Where it is there? It is a biological interaction in the syn ecology. Who has said this one? This is the ecologist. Ecologists discovered that those species which are having the same ecological niche cannot coexist for indefinite time period. In order to coexist, they need to shed their character. Especially, they need to leave their ecological niche, which is very, very difficult. Clear? This is about the Gauss principle. This is the complete exclusion principle. Contest, competition. What is contest competition? Come on, write on contest competition. Contest competition. What is that contest competition? When the tiger or the lion competing for the deer. When the tiger or the lion competing for the deer. Since the same ecological niche, which is called as the food ecological niche is there, because of the same food ecological niche, the two species cannot coexist for long. The two species cannot coexist for long. This is the contest competition. Then side heading. What is the side heading? Next one, scramble competition. Scramble competition. What do you mean by scramble? Intraspecific. Means what? Within the species there can be competition. Intraspecific competition. What is this intraspecific competition? Within the same species when the competition is taking place. Like maybe the two dogs are fighting for a bone. When two dogs are fighting for the bone, this is called as scramble. Scramble competition, otherwise called as facultative competition. This is also called as facultative competition. There are different names given by different ecologists. Facultative. In the facultative competition, what happens? The fight will be there, but not the death of the animals. But not the death of the animals or death of the species. Fight will be there. This is what called as, this is called as the scramble competition. Intraspecific. What do I mean by intraspecific? Within the species, you can find competition. Dogs competing for one bone. Two cheetahs competing for one deer. Two tigers competing for one deer. Or two lions competing for the same species. This is what called as the intraspecific. The next very best example for intraspecific competition, see this example for intraspecific competition. Because of this intraspecific competition only, sometimes the population of the wild animals is reducing. Pay attention. Because of intraspecific competition only, the population of the wild animals is reducing. Why the statement is like this? Why we have given such a statement? Come on, understand. There are certain wild species, example like lions, like hippos, hippopotamus, like rhinos. These are the basic three big and large sized animals, wild animals. What is the nature of these wild animals? The intra-species means what? Lion is competing with other lion. Another hippo and another hippo you are fighting. The rhinoceros and other rhinoceros are competing. Now, what is the basic character of these wild beasts? They cannot live in colonies. What do you mean by living in colonies? We people live in colonies. All the people live in one particular place. This is what called as colony. But whereas these species, the wild animals, they cannot live in colonies. They can live only in isolation. How? Suppose if this is the lion, suppose if this is a big lion, where it is having all the fur over its body. Okay, this is a lion. This is what? Lion, which is having. Fine. The big lion. What is the character? It cannot live in colony. It will be living individually. So, it is having a family. What is the family? Lioness will be there. This is a lioness. This is a lioness. And for them, there are certain small cubs. This is the family of this lion. Right? These are cubs. This is lioness. Fine. What is the character of this lion? It will be having its own, what is called as ilaka. What is ilaka called as? It will be having its own area. Its own area like this. The territorial. It will be having its own territorial zone like this. How it will be demarcating this territory? By going for excretion, especially urination. What this lion will be doing? It will be demarcating its area by urination. Around this area, the lion will be going for urination. Because of that urination, where it can demarcate, saying that this is my area, this is my territory. Whoever is going to enter, you dare not to enter into this area because I am staying here. This is what the warning given to other. This is the warning given to other lions. This is what the other lion. This is what the other lion. When the other lion is trying to enter into this one, by smelling this urine, never it will be entering into the other zone. It believes that yes, this is not my area, this is somebody's area, I should not enter, and it will never enter. But sometimes, if this is all alone, if it wants family, what this lion will be doing, this will be entering into the territory and it will be throwing a challenge. What is the challenge it will be throwing? It will be throwing a challenge to fight. Then there is a fight, there is a inevitable fight between the two lions. The two lions will be fighting like anything. If this lion, which is the native lion of this territory, if it wins, nothing happens. The intruder will be killed, nothing happens. But if the intruder lion wins, what happens? Do you know this one? See the nature. If the intruder lion kills this lion, that intruder lion immediately kills all the cubs. Whatever may be the number of cubs, maybe 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever may be the number of cubs, all the cubs will be brutally killed by that intruding lion and start producing its own offsprings. And start producing its own cubs from the lioness. That is what the character of the wild beasts. This is what called as intra-specific competition. Clear? This is what the intra-specific character. Have you listened this one? After listening, come on, write down. I am dictating now. Come on. When I am dictating, then you write. Whatever writing on the board, you jot down the points. First listen. Concentrate on listening. Whatever the concept I am explaining, listen that concept and try to jot down the points. Then I will be dictating, right? Fine. You people are getting confused with when I am teaching, when I am dictating. When I say write, then it is a dictation part, right? Is it okay? This is the explanation. Whatever I explain now is the intra-specific. What is interspecific? Interspecific relates to Gauss principle and the competitive exclusion principle, right? Then intraspecific. Write down the intraspecific. Give the heading as intraspecific competition. Give the heading as intraspecific competition. This competition is between the same species. Give the heading as intraspecific competition. This competition is called as intraspecific competition, also called as scramble competition. This is the competition between the same species. This is the competition between the same species. Between the same species. Example, two dogs fighting for a bone. Two dogs fighting for a bone. Two tigers chasing a common deer. Two tigers chasing a common deer. In all these cases, the resources should be limited. In all these cases, the resources should be limited. What do you mean by resources should be limited? If the resources are abundant, there is no competition. Suppose if the UPSC says that there are 1 lakh IAS posts, what will be the competition? Maybe 2 lakh people will be writing, and they can find in the mains part maybe 2.5 will be writing, and the competition is very less, 1:1. But 2 lakh people will be appearing in the mains, but only 30 or 50 IAS posts will be there. A heavy competition, right? Whenever the limited resources are there, then the competition becomes negatively impacted, right? Two deers chasing for the same limited resources. Two tigers chasing one deer, two dogs fighting for one bone, right? This is the example. Full stop. Write down in the next para. The intraspecific competition in the wild animals, the intraspecific competition, what is this one? This is intraspecific, right? The second one. The intraspecific competition in the wild animals sometimes affects its population size. Sometimes affects its population size. Sometimes affects its population size. Full stop. Example, the species like lions, rhinoceros, the species like lions, rhinoceros never try to live in colonies. Never try to live in colonies. Full stop. They maintain their own territory. They maintain their own territory and never allows other male species never allows other male species into its territory. Into its territory. Full stop. Into its territory. Full stop. If any other male enters forcefully, if another male enters forcefully, then the fight is inevitable. Then the fight is inevitable. When the other male species enters into its territory, then the fight is inevitable. The intruding species, the intruding male, if it wins, the intruding male, if it wins the fight, the intruding male, if it wins the fight, it will kill all the offsprings. It will kill all the offsprings and try to produce its own with the female species. It will kill all the offsprings and try to produce its own offsprings with the female species. With the female species. Full stop. This is what the intraspecific, right? This is a intraspecific competition. Is that clear? Is it okay? First, what you need to do, you listen what I am telling, then I will be dictating, then you can write. But in the meanwhile, when I am explaining also, whatever I write down on the board, you keep on listening and jotting the points. Jotting the points is easy. No need to write all the entire story, right? Is it okay? Yes, I can understand your problem. You do have less time to watch the video again, and I am going slow. See, these are the three very important types of negative interaction: predation, parasitism, competition. Apart from these three, there is a very, very important biological interaction which is opposite to the commensalism, called as amensalism. Come on, give the heading as amensalism. Where we need to come across the amensalism is coming under the negative interaction. Give the heading as amensalism. Give the heading as amensalism. Right? Give the heading as amensalism, which is opposite to that of commensalism of positive interaction. Within the negative interaction, there is a very important biological interaction called as amensalism. This is opposite to commensalism of positive interaction. Now, what is this amensalism? Again, very important. Come on. Listen. What do you mean by amensalism? What is amensalism? Amensalism as I said, this is negative to that of the commensalism. Commensalism is nothing but plus zero interaction. What is amensalism? It is minus zero interaction. It's called as minus zero interaction. Jot down. Keep on writing, right? Just the points. You need to jot down whatever I am writing on the board, right? Amensalism is otherwise called as minus zero interaction. What do you mean by minus zero interaction? Where one species is negatively affected, whereas other species is not affected at all. It is neutral. That's why it is called as opposite to that of commensalism. What is commensalism? Plus zero. One is positively benefited, another one is neutral. Listen, don't write. Clear? What is amensalism? Opposite to commensalism. What commensalism talks about? Plus 0. What amensalism talks about? Minus 0. Is it clear? This is minus 0 interaction. What do you mean by minus 0? When the two species are interacting, one species is inhibited, it is lost. Another species is neutral. What is the best example? What is the best example? The best example is, suppose a huge animal like lion. What is the best example? Don't write this example, understand this one. When a lion is walking on the grass, do you think that the lion will be eating the grass? Never the lion eats the grass. But whenever such a large animal like lion is walking on the grass gets crumbled. The grass gets scrambled. It dies. The grass dies. What is happening to the grass? The grass is dying. But is the animal is benefited? Is not benefited. Neither benefited nor lost. It is 0. For lion it is 0. But whereas for the grass it is negative. This type of interaction is called as amensalism. Right? Now, this amensalism is of two types. Amensalism alone can be a question. That's why I am specifically mentioning this one. I didn't give amensalism within the competition, predation, parasitism. Specifically I am explaining. Why? Because in the optional geography commensalism was asked. Again in the GS the commensalism was questioned. When the question was appearing in the optional part, it is coming in the GS part, in the preliminary part, or maybe in the mains part, where every chance is there for the amensalism for you in the prelims or the mains. That's why I am specifically giving amensalism as a separate one. Right? The amensalism is nothing but minus 0 interaction, which is of two types. One is called as allelopathy, another one is called as antibiosis. Amensalism is of two types. One is called as allelopathy, another one is called as antibiosis. What are these two? These two are different types of amensalism where one species is negatively affected, another one is neutral. Right? Amensalism is of two types, allelopathy and antibiosis. What do you mean by allelopathy? See this one. Suppose if this is a huge tree. Suppose this is a huge tree. Under this tree, if there is some species like this, some small plant or maybe small species, maybe this is like this. What will be happening to this species? Because of the absorption of nutrition, because of obstacle of the sun rays, this particular species cannot grow in a great scale as this species. Why it is growing? Because it is having all sorts of inputs, like water is available, sun rays are available, all the nutrients it can squeeze from the deep of the earth particles. Therefore it is growing. But the species that is present between or under the larger trees cannot grow to a great height. Moreover, this particular tree, see this one, this is a very important point. The tree may be releasing certain chemicals. The tree may be releasing certain chemicals which inhibits. The tree will be releasing certain chemicals which inhibits the growth of smaller plants. This is what called as allelopathy. What is allelopathy? Allelopathy is nothing but inhibiting the growth of the species by releasing certain chemicals. Is it clear? Allelopathy is nothing but releasing the chemicals by the larger trees so that the chemicals will be inhibits the growth of the smaller trees under the larger tree. This is called as allelopathy. Is it clear? Is the concept clear? Once it is clear, I will be dictating. Now coming to antibiosis. What do you mean by antibiosis? Antibiosis is also similar to that of allelopathy, where certain species release certain chemicals, that chemicals inhibits the growth of other species, especially bacteria and fungi. Could you understand? What is antibiosis? Antibiosis is also similar to allelopathy, but what is the difference? Antibiosis also is nothing but the releasing of the chemicals by the species. When the species is releasing the chemicals, that chemicals will be inhibits or even that particular chemical makes the species to die. What is happening here? There is sure inhibition. There is no question of growth. No growth at all. It will lead to death of other species. Means what? Whenever the antibodies are released by either maybe the plant or the animal, that antibodies kills bacteria and fungi. Kills bacteria and fungi. Whatever the chemicals released by the trees or the animals which are antibodies, they will be killing bacteria and fungus. There is no question of just stopping the growth. They will be killing the bacteria and fungus. This is what called as antibiosis. Whereas allelopathy is not like that. The chemicals that are released can stop the growth of the species. Is it clear? These chemicals just stop the growth of the species, whereas these, they kill the species. The best example, bacteria and fungi. This is what the difference between the antibiosis and the allelopathy. Both they are amensalism type of interaction. Is it clear? Is it okay? Come on, write on amensalism. Give the heading as amensalism. Give the heading as amensalism. Give the heading as amensalism. What do you mean by amensalism? It is a -0 interaction. It is -0 biological interaction. This is -0 biological interaction in which one species is neutral, the other species is negatively affected. One species is neutral, other species is negatively affected. There are two types of amensalism. One is called as allelopathy and one is called as antibiosis. Allelopathy, A-L-L-E-L-O-P-A-T-H-Y, allelopathy, and antibiosis, A-N-T-I-B-I-O, biosis, S-I-S, antibiosis. Allelopathy, side heading allelopathy. Side heading allelopathy. In this interaction, the species release certain chemicals. The species release certain chemicals which affects the growth of other species. But the other species is not killed. which affects the growth of other species, but the other species will not be killed. Antibiosis. Antibiosis. These are the antibodies produced by the species which kills the bacteria and fungus. Kills the bacteria and fungus. Clear? This is about the amensalism, then the negative biological interaction, then all other interactions. These are all the interactions that are present here in the sin ecology. These are called as the biological interactions. All the biological interactions are very, very important. Clear? After the biological interaction, give the next heading as significant ecologically significant species. Come on, give the heading as ecologically significant species. Give the heading as ecologically significant species. What are these ecologically significant species? Means what? Some other species are not significant or what? What do you mean by ecologically significant species? Come on, understand this one. There are certain species which are specifically named as significant species. And these species are having unique names because of their unique functionality. What are the names given for the ecologically significant species? Give the heading as ecologically significant species. They are called with the different names like, come on, give the heading as ecologically significant species. They are called with the different names like, number one, keystone species, flagship species, umbrella species, foundation species, the last one, indicator species. Come on, write down this one. There are certain ecologically significant species. Where they are named as follows. Number one, they are named as follows. Number one, keystone species, flagship species, umbrella species, foundation species. The last one, indicator species. Right? Now stop writing. Don't write anything, just listen. I am going to dictate, listen this one first of all. Whenever I am telling that you listen, you people are not listening that particular word and you are going somewhere, again you will be coming back and again you will be writing. Sir, you are too fast, sir. Listen first of all. I am explaining all these concepts, then I will dictate, you write that one. Is it okay? What are keystone species? Pay attention, very, very important. What are keystone species? These species are very much required for that ecosystem. In that locality, if these species are not there, the entire ecosystem get collapsed. That's why it is called as keystone. What is the literal meaning of the keystone? In an arch, suppose if there is an arch, this is one wing of the arch, another wing of the arch. In between the two wings, whatever the stone which patches the two wings is called as keystone. If that particular keystone is removed, the two wings of the arches, they will get collapsed. On the same lines, if any species is removed from that particular ecosystem, the entire ecosystem will get collapsed. Means what? Simply, if any animal is removed from its forest, that forest will not be a forest. The other animals will be dying. The other animals will be adversely affected. Such type of species are called as keystone species. What are the best examples? The best examples like starfish. There is a fish called as starfish. What the starfish is doing in those areas where, suppose if this is a platform, this is the wall, this is the water, maybe a sea or ocean. Because of availability of the food, what is the food? The food is called as plankton. Suppose these are the planktons. In order to eat the food, some of the species, they will be coming and they will be clinging. Means what? They are adhering. Means what? They are attached to the wall like this. The best example like leeches, some of the other small birds, BUDS birds, all they will be attached to the wall. Why they will be attaching the wall? Because whenever the water flows and hits, within the water plankton is there, they will be consuming the plankton and leaving the water. The waves will be keep on hitting and these animals will be getting the food, and therefore they will be growing in number. This is what these species which are clinging. Clinging means what? Adhering, nothing but attached to the wall of the coastal area. Is it clear? Why? Because of availability of the plankton within the water. They will be feeding on plankton. In such a location, there are certain larger species called as mussels. What are these mussels? They are the larger species like this. They are the larger one, where they will be coming from the water body and they will be clinging. They will be attaching to the wall, leaving no space for other species. These mussels never will be eating the other animals. What they want? They also want the plankton. These mussels also want the plankton. In want of plankton, more and more mussels, they come and they attach to the wall of the coast. When the mussels are occupying the space, there is no space for other animals. When there is no space for the other animals, what happens? All the other animals are dying. Exactly at this point of time, there is a fish which is called as starfish. What this fish is doing? The fish comes here and eats mussels. They consume the mussels. When the mussels are being consumed, the space is provided. Who is providing the space? It is the starfish which is providing the space. Within the space, some other creatures will be staying comfortably. This is what? The starfish. Therefore, starfish is called as the keystone species. Other example, there is an animal called as dugong. What is dugong? Dugong is nothing but sea cow. Why it is called as sea cow? Because it will be consuming the grass that was grown in the submarine condition. What do you mean by submarine? Under the water. Under the water, in the shallow depths, when the grass is growing, the dugong will be eating the grass. When it is eating the grass, why it is called as keystone? These dugongs are found right from the what is called as Andaman Nicobar till Gulf of Mannar region. In the Gulf of Mannar especially, where the grass, if it is grown extensively, the fishes, the lobsters, the other living small creatures, they can't survive, they can't move in the grass, they can't freely swim. Therefore, the animals, they will be moving away from that area. Now the dugong comes and it will be clearing all the grass. When the grass is cleared, now the number of species from different areas comes and stays there. Who is providing the space for these animals to locate? It is the dugong. Therefore, dugong is considered as The keystone species. This is what the keystone species. The next one is called as the flagship species. What do you mean by flagship species? Flagship species are acting as brand icons. They are acting as the trademarks. In the marketing field, you will be having logos, trademarks. On the same lines, some of the animals are acting as logos. Some of the animals are acting as a trademark for that particular location. The best example, one-horn rhino for Kaziranga National Park. The moment once we listen the name like Kaziranga National Park, what that comes in our mind? It is one-horn rhino. Therefore, one-horn rhino is acting as a brand ambassador for the Kaziranga National Park. Such species, because of their charismatic appeal, they are selected as flagship products. The best example, panda for the WWF. What is this WWF? World Wildlife Fund for the Nature. For this organization, the giant panda is selected as a brand ambassador and the logo is also panda. The best example, another example, there is a national park in the Madhya Pradesh called as Kanha National Park. What is the national park in Madhya Pradesh? It's called as Kanha. In the Kanha National Park, you can find number of swamp deer. These swamp deers are called as Barasingas. Recently, the Kanha National Park authorities has named this Barasinga as a mascot. Normally, who will be having the mascot for the national games or some other events where the mascot will be there? What is a mascot? Mascot is nothing but a logo, is a symbol. Such a mascot was developed by the national park authorities, where the national park mascot was the Barasinga, where they named one of the Barasinga as Bursing. Bursing, the Barasinga. This is what the mascot. Bursing, the Barasinga. This is what the mascot. This is nothing but the flagship species. Right? This is about the flagship species. Because of their charismatic appeal, because of their great importance that is located in that area, where they are selected as the brand ambassadors. Such species are called as the flagship species. The third one, they are called as umbrella species. Bursing, the Barasinga, right? Then the third one is called as the umbrella species. As the name itself denotes, what is umbrella? Chhatri, where it will be providing a space for at least two people to stay under the chhatri. On the same lines, these species in any forest or in any ecosystem, they are having a larger geographical area. As they will be keep on moving here and there, as they will be migrating here and there, in order to protect these species, the authorities, the forest authorities or the conservative authorities, they will be announcing entire area where these species are moving as a protected area. In the process of protection of these species, all the entire area is protected. Such a species which is having a larger geographical area, in order to protect, we are forced to protect some other area also, some other species also, some other plants also, some other monuments also. Such a strategy is called as umbrella species. The best example, elephants. Elephants are roaming here and there in a very large area. Therefore, umbrella is the best example for, elephant is the best example for umbrella species. Also, Gangetic dolphins, the Gangetic dolphins, Irrawaddy dolphins, even the animal like snow leopard, where it will be keep on moving such a large area in order to protect that particular species, where we need to announce entire area as a protected area. This is called as umbrella species. The next one, fourth one, called as foundation species. As the name denotes, foundation. for that particular ecosystem or for that particular area, what is the foundation? Earlier there was no species. Now because of this particular species, all other species came in this area. Again I am repeating, earlier nothing was there. One species came to this area and it started developing some conditions. Because of that conditions, all other species came to this area. Such a one species which has created conducive climatic conditions, conducive environment for all other species to live is called as foundation species. The best example, coral reefs. The coral polyps. What polyps will be doing? They will be constructing the house called as reefs. When the reef is constructed, the zooxanthellae comes. Once the zooxanthellae comes here as a algae, which is a basic food material for all other species, all the animals like fishes, lobster, prawns, crabs, oyster, you can find octopus, so many animals comes and stays there. This is what the foundation species. Had this polyp has not constructed the house, can there be any other species? No. This is what called as foundation species. Another example, lichens. Earlier there was only rock. On the rock, lichens comes and stays. What is a lichen? Lichen is nothing but the fungus along with the algae. The two will together act as lichens. Whenever the lichens comes, slowly the lichens gives way for the mosses. The mosses gives way for the grass gives way for another herbivore animal. Slowly a big forest will develop. What was there earlier? Lichens. Therefore lichens forms the foundation species. Who is acting as a foundation? It is what called as foundation species. The last one, indicator species. What are these indicator species? These species indicates the health of the region, health of the habitat. If something goes wrong in the health of the habitat, immediately they give certain warning signals for the human being. You fellow, you need to take care of this area because it is something degraded. I am giving the signal. You take this as an alarm. This is what called as indicator species. Means what? The best example, coral reefs again. In the case of water pollution or oceanic acidification. What do you mean by oceanic acidification? When the temperature of the oceanic water increases, or when the nutrients are keep on adding in the ocean. When the nutrients adds, then what happens? You can find the chemical composition get alters. Due to that chemical alteration or the chemical composition alternation, the zooxanthellae get expelled. The zooxanthellae moves away from the coral reefs. When the zooxanthellae moves away from the coral reefs, such a mosaic color coral reef turns into a pale white color. This white color of the corals is a signal for the human. What is the signal? When the color of the coral is changing, then that is acting as a signal, then the human will take the positive steps by checking the degraded condition, by removing the pollutants, by removing, not adding any nutrients. Therefore again the zooxanthellae comes there and they will be staying there comfortably. Such a pale coloring of the coral reef, which is called as coral bleaching, is a best indication for the human to take care of that particular water body. Is it clear? Also, there is another very important example for the indicator species. There is a small bird called as canary bird. See the man. Man is such a selfish guy. What this guy is doing? He is taking this canary bird into the coal mines. What the canary birds can indicate? The leaking of the methane gas. The moment once the methane gas is released in the coal mines, whenever you are digging the coal mine, or automatically in between the beds of the coal mine you can find the methane gas trapping. When this guy will be hitting the coal, Because the spark created by the friction, if the methane gas is present, the methane gas burns and the entire coal mine fire takes place. In order to avoid such type of coal mine firing, what this fellow is doing? These people are taking the minas, nothing but the canary birds, to the deep inner layers of the mines, and they will be releasing the canary birds. These canary birds going on, they will be staying in and around the corners of the coal mine. Whenever the methane gas releases, the mina cannot suffocate, the canary bird cannot breathe, it gets suffocates and dies. By seeing the death of the canary birds, the man who is present in the coal mines migrates out. This is what the indication given by the canary bird to the mankind. Is it clear? Such type of species are called as indicator species. All clear? If it is clear, I will dictate. Is it clear? Is it okay? Sir, don't think that one species, if at all it is given as the indicator species, it cannot be a keystone species. A species can be keystone, it can be flagship, the same species can be indicator species. Just like in the case of indicator species, what is the indicator? Coral reef. Coral polyps are the indicator species. Also, the coral reefs are the foundation species. Clear? On the same lines, lichens, which forms the foundation species, can also be indicator species. Like what the lichens will be indicating? They indicate the health of the soil. If the soil health is degraded because of addition of some heavy metals, then immediately the lichens give a signal. Not only this one, the amphibians like frogs, the frogs indicate the health of the soil. Clear? What is the concept here? Indicating the health of the region where the species are located. Clear? This is about the species. Come on, write down. You are reading as ecologically significant species, and under this one write down all these 5 headings. The first one, keystone species. Side heading, keystone species. Very good. Come on, write down keystone species. These species maintains the entire ecosystem. They maintains the ecosystem. They balance the ecosystem through its functional role. They balance the ecosystem through their functional role. Full stop. The keystone species modifies MODIFIES, modifies the conditions of the ecosystem and allows the other species to stay in that habitat. Full stop. The abundance of the keystone species may be less. The abundance, ABUNDANCE. What do you mean by abundance? Number of species. If at all you are having any confusion in abundance, within the bracket write down number of species. The abundance, ABUNDANCE, the abundance of the keystone species may be less. The abundance of keystone species may be less, but they have disproportionate impact on the ecosystem. Full stop. But they have disproportionate impact on the ecosystem. Example, What are the examples? Starfish. One is starfish, then dugong. Dugong. Even tigers. Tigers are the keystone species. Why tigers? Say the tiger is removed from the forest. When the tiger is removed, the deer population will increase. When the deer population is increasing, what happens to the pressure on the grass? The pressure on the grass increases. When the pressure on the grass increases, the grass will be depleted. When the grass is not there, again it will be showing impact on the deer population. The deer starve to death. Therefore, there should be one controlling factor. Who will be controlling the deer population? It is the tiger. And so tiger is also a keystone species, right? Then flagship product or flagship species. Give heading as flagship species. These species are selected for conservation. These species are selected for conservation. They are selected for conservation as they have charismatic appeal. As they have charismatic appeal. CHAR. CH is called as charismatic appeal. The pronunciation may be different. Charismatic, charismatic. The people will be pronouncing in different ways. Okay. Charismatic approach. What do you mean by charismatic? CHARISMATIC. As they have charismatic appeal. Right? These species are selected for conservation as they have charismatic appeal. Full stop. They have a tendency to focus on strategic goal. They have a tendency to focus on the strategic goal and socio-economic nature they have a tendency to focus on the strategic goal and socio-economic nature of the concept CONCEPT of the concept to support the marketing of a conservation effort. Marketing of a conservation effort. Full stop. Marketing of a conservation effort. Full stop. They act as a brand ambassador. They act as a brand ambassador or icon for environmental cause. Environmental cause, CAUSE, full stop. Examples. All the examples are important. Come on. Examples. Pandas, PANDS, pandas. Elephants, pandas. Giant apes, APES, GIANT, giant apes. Giant apes, APES. Olive ridley turtles, OLIVE, REDLEY, ridley turtle, TURTLE, turtle. Snow leopard are the one which are considered as the flagship products. Snow leopards. Then Bengal tigers, the so-called Royal Bengal tigers, they are the flagship products, flagship species. Also black rhinoceros, black, BLACK, black rhinoceros. These are the flagship products, are flagship species. Then umbrella species, siding umbrella. Umbrella species. What are these umbrella species? They have large, these species, write down like this. Instead of they, write down, these species have larger habitat. These species have larger, L-A-R-G-R, larger habitat, as they have migratory character. As they have migratory character, and the conservation of these species demands, the conservation of entire locality. The conservation of these species demands the conservation of entire locality. Full stop. The umbrella species term used by WWF. What is WWF? World Wildlife Fund for the Nature. Umbrella species term used by WWF, World Wildlife Fund for the Nature, for the protection of biodiversity. For the protection of biodiversity. Full stop. Examples: polar bears. Example: polar bears, rhinoceros, olive ridley turtles, Irrawaddy dolphins, Irrawaddy dolphins, giant pandas, G-I-A-N-T, panda, P-A-N-D-A, panda, whales, Gangetic dolphins, even tigers. You can write even tigers also, the umbrella species, right? The next one, foundation species. Foundation species. The foundation species defines the ecosystem. The foundation species defines the ecosystem, controls the biodiversity. The foundation species defines the ecosystem, controls the biodiversity, defines the ecosystem, controls the biodiversity, and modulate, M-O-D-U-L-A-T-E, and modulates critical ecosystem processes, M-O-D-U-L-A-T-E-S, modulates the critical ecosystem processes, and often, O-F-T-N, and often have important cultural values, Important cultural values. Full stop. It lays the establishment of, L-A-Y-S, it lays the establishment of new ecosystem. Example: lichens on the bare rocks. Bare rocks, R-O-C-K-S, rocks. 2. Coral polyps. Coral polyps forms the reef ecosystem. Coral polyps forms the reef, R-E-E-F, reef ecosystem. Coral polyps forms the reef ecosystem. The last one, indicator species. Indicator species The indicator species represents changes. The indicator species represents the changes in the health of the ecosystem. The indicator species represents the changes in the health of the ecosystem and acts as an early warning system. Acts as a early warning system. Full stop. These species provides a signal. These species provides a signal for signals for prevention of degradation. Degradation, right? Examples, come on, write down the examples. What are the examples? Coral polyps or coral reefs indicates oceanic acidification. Coral reefs indicates oceanic acidification. Gharial, Gharial. Gharials indicates water pollution. Gharial. Gharials indicates water pollution. Lichens, Lichens, lichens indicates sulfur pollution. Lichens indicates sulfur pollution. The last one, canary birds, CANARY, canary birds indicates the methane gas leakages in the coal fields. Canary bird indicates methane gas leaks in the coal fields. COALFIELDS, coal fields. These are the very important species. They are ecologically significant species. Is it clear? They are the ecologically significant species. Here we will take a small 5 minutes break. After the break, we will be starting with the concept called as ecosystem. We need to enter into the larger concept called as ecosystem. Give the heading as ecosystem and go for a small break. A small break, just 5 minutes. Yes, welcome back. Then now come on. Let us move to the other very important concept within the ecology called as ecosystem. Let me show you where we are right now. We talked about the holism, like individual, group of individual forms what is called as population. A group of population forms what is called as community. A group of community which is interacting with the abiotic factors, this is what called as ecosystem. Till this point of time what we discuss, this is what the approach which is called as art ecology. We discussed here number of the processes like acclimatization, adaptation, physiological, morphological, and even what is called as behavioral adaptation, right? These are the things we discussed here at the individual level. Whereas here we discussed about what is called as the synecology. What are the biological interactions between the species? We didn't talk about Either the gases, or we didn't talk about the rainfall, we didn't talk about the land, we didn't talk about the slope of the area, or the what is called as water. We discussed only the relation between the species to species, whether it may be the plant or the animal. We have seen the differences in the interaction, whether it is positive or in the negative, or the negative interaction. Whether it is a positive or the negative interaction is the one where we have discussed. This is what the synecological approach. In the community, how the interactions are taking place at one individual level, at the group. Then we are coming to the larger scenario where the plant species, animal species, not only they are interacting among themselves, which is nothing but the synecological studies, now they are also interacting with the surrounding. What is that surrounding? Like rocks, like the hills, like the slope of the land, like the gases that are present, like the water body. What is that water body that is present? Whether it is a salt water body or the fresh water body. Could you understand? Now we are going to see the impacts of the abiotic on the biotic. Also the impacts of the biotic on the abiotic. Could you understand the clarity? Is there any clarity regarding this one? This is how we are moving ahead. Is it clear? Whereas in our book, whatever the material that is being provided, it is mixed somewhere. The second chapter gone to the first place, the first chapter gone to the third place. Whatever may be the arrangement that is there in the textbook or the material, we are moving in a sequential order. If you can understand this sequential order, then you are there in the stream. Is it clear? Now is it okay? Now we are entering into the next concept, the next higher concept in ecology called as ecosystem. Now what is ecosystem? Come on. A very, very important concept. What it is the ecosystem? The term ecosystem is coined by a very great ecologist by name Mr. Arthur G. Arthur Arthur George Tansley. The term ecosystem was coined by Arthur G. Tansley in the year 1935, popularly called as A.G. Tansley. He's a guy. Coined by this guy. What he said? He said that he has given a very great importance for the term ecosystem. He said that ecosystem is the unit of nature. What is ecosystem? It is a unit of nature. Means what? Whenever you want to study the nature, nothing but environment. What is nature? Nothing but environment. It is a unit of environment. Whenever you want to learn the entire environment. What is environment? The larger whole. Lithosphere, atmosphere, hydrosphere, along with the biosphere, put together is called as environment. What is ecosystem? Ecosystem is a unit. The unit of study of environment. Whenever you want to know the larger environment, if you can read the ecosystem where you are reading the complete concept. This is what the importance given for the ecosystem. Ecosystem is the basic unit, of the nature, or otherwise called as environment. What is ecosystem? Ecosystem is the basic unit of the environment. Therefore, because of this importance, what he has said, he said that ecosystem is nothing but the study of ecosystem. What is study of what is ecology? Ecology is nothing but the study of ecosystem. He defined as ecosystem is nothing but, means what? Ecology is nothing but the study of ecosystem. Come on, you write down this one. What is ecology? Ecology is nothing but the study of ecosystem, since it is a basic unit. Since it is a unit where he has given a very greater emphasis on the ecosystem. Ecosystem is the one which forms the basis, and therefore what is ecology? Ecology is nothing but the study of ecosystem. This is what the definition. The definition as given by Mr. A.G. Tansley. Clear? This is the definition as given by Mr. Tansley. This is what the ecosystem. This is what the ecosystem. Then, after the definition, let us go to the types of ecosystems. Types of ecosystem. Before going to see the types of ecosystem, what we need to see? We need to see the components of ecosystem. Components of ecosystem. Just like environment, ecosystem is also having different components like biotic, abiotic. Biotic, abiotic. What do you mean by biotic and what do you mean by abiotic? Biotic is nothing but the life forms, abiotic is nothing but non-life forms. See this one? Biotic and abiotic. What are the things that comes under the biotic? The first one is called as producers, which are otherwise called as autotrophs. The next one, primary consumers, nothing but herbivores. Then the third one, secondary consumers, they are called as carnivores. The last one, they are called as tertiary consumers, they are called as omnivores. Not only this one, also you can find microbes. They are decomposers, detritivores. These are the one. The decomposers like bacteria, fungus, detritivores like hyenas, vultures and all these things. This is what the classification of biotic. As we have classified the same thing in the environment. Why there is no difference? Because this is a unit of environment. What is ecology? Ecology is a unit of environment. If you want to study the environment, if you want to know the entire environment, you need to study the basic unit. Right? This is what the biotic. Then abiotic. The abiotic factors like. What are the abiotic factors? The abiotic factors like the non-life forms like lith related. Like lith related. What do you mean by lith related? Rock related. They are nothing but land, soil, relief. What do you mean by relief? What is the relief? Relief is nothing but RELIEF. What is relief? Come on, respond. What do you mean by relief? Then slope of the land, altitude. These are the lith related. Then the atmosphere related. Atmosphere related. They related like the things like oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, sulfur, potassium, potassium, phosphorus. These are the one. What do you mean by relief? Is it mountains? What is the relief? Come on, respond. What is relief? These are the gases related. They are nothing but the atmosphere. You can talk about global warming, climate change, relief is slope, relief is mountains. Is the difference? And after lithosphere, atmosphere, the hydrosphere, hydro related. The hydro related like, what are the hydro related like? Salinity, density of water, salinity of the water, density of the water, then depth of the oceanic body, then fresh water, lakes, mountain. Again someone has given mountain. Harshita talked about the mountains. Prakash Kumar Singh, Kapil Prakash Singh is also talking about slope. Rahul is giving as answer as mountain. Meenakshi, relief is a type of terrain on land. Relief is a type of terrain and land. Meenakshi Yadav. What is relief? What is relief? Come on. Don't say this as land. Don't say this as mountain. Come on, tell me, what is the relief of earth? If I ask the question like this, what is the relief of earth? Or what is the relief of India? What is the relief of Delhi? Then what is relief? Come on. If I ask what is relief of Delhi, is it the mountain or what? Is it the type of land? What is the relief of earth then? What is relief? What are you people? Come on. This is the one which is very, very important. When it is slope, why I should write again relief comma slope? This is not the slope. This is not the mountain. I can put here even mountain. When it is mountain, why I have written mountain? Parth has given the answer like elevation. Elevation is called as relief. His elevation is relief. Relief is a feature of landscape. Vedant. Difference between the highest point and the lowest point. The answer is given by Mr. Ritvik. He is the one who is talking about the relief. Of course, it is a feature of the landscape. But what is relief? Though it is a feature of landscape, but what is relief? What is the relief? Relief is nothing but the difference between the highest point and the lowest point. This is what the relief means. What? Come on, understand this one. Very, very basic. If you don't know this basic, you can't talk about the abiotic component. Come on, understand this one. Suppose if this is a plane. Come on, look here. This is a plain area. Because of some tectonic adjustment, what happened? The plain area got converted into mountainous area. Right? The plain area got converted. It got compressed and got converted into mountain. Now the land got compressed like this. Now the land got compressed like this. Somewhere you can find the mountain, by the side you can find the valley. Now what happened for the plain reliefless land? For the plain reliefless land, now a relief was created. Whose job is to create the relief? It is the endogenic forces. The exogenic forces never can create relief. Who is having the ability to create the relief? Only the endogenic forces. Now the moment once they create the relief, what happened? See, earlier the land is a flat, reliefless land. A flat, reliefless land got created with the great, has turned into a great relief-full land. What is relief now? Right from here to here, whatever the deviation it has taken. Earlier it was flat. There was no relief. Now what happened? The maximum point and the minimum point, the difference is called as relief. If someone asks you what is the relief of the earth, if someone asks you what is the relief of the earth, what you have to tell? Come on. This is the Mount Everest and this is the Mariana Trench. What is this one? It is almost 11,000, it is almost 9,000 meters. What is relief? Relief is nothing but, see this is the mean sea level. If I say difference between the maximum and minimum point means what? It's not 11,000 minus 9,000. In fact, you need to add both, which is called as 20,000 meters 20,000 meters is the relief of the earth. Means what's a deviation from the mean sea level? How much it got deviated? What is this one? Mean sea level is the reliefless plain area. How much deviation has taken place from the mean sea level? Whether the deviation can be towards upside or the deviation can be in the depth side. Both they are relief. Don't say even elevation. Don't say even elevation. Elevation is just one side of the, one coin of the relief, one side of the coin of the relief. Even the depth is a relief. Got the point? What is the deviation that has taken place? 9,000 deviation, 11,000 deviation. Total deviation, total relief is 20,000 is the relief of the earth. This is what the relief is. Got the point? That very relief decides what type of life should be there. What type of life should be there on the top of the mountain? What type of life should be there at the bottom of the relief, or bottom of the trenches? Got the point? It is the abiotic factor which decides what type of species should be living there. Got the point? This is what the relief is. Is the relief clear? Don't say rugged topography, don't say terrain, don't say slope, don't say mountain. Mountain is just a mountain. It's not a relief at all. Mountain is having the relief. Got the point? Mountain is just a physical structure which is having relief. What do you mean by having relief? How much it got elevated up. At the same time, even the depth is also the relief. How much it got deviated from the mean sea level. Is it clear? You should be having a very good clarity, right? This is what the relief, where the lithosphere, atmosphere, hydrosphere, all they are abiotic factors which decides and determines what type of life should be present there. These are the components of ecosystem. After the components of ecosystem, let us move to the what is called as the components of ecosystem. Then what we are studying, one is component of the ecosystem, the types of ecosystem. Come on, give heading as types of ecosystem. What are the different types of ecosystem? Come on. There are basically two types of ecosystem. There are basically two types of ecosystems. One is called as, keep on jotting this point. No need to dictate all these things. The components are already dictated in the first class itself. This is the one where this is a definition. No need to dictate. You can write as it is, whatever I have given on the board, right? Then, types of ecosystems. There are basically two types. One is called as terrestrial ecosystem. The next one is called as aquatic ecosystem. What do you mean by terrestrial ecosystem? Nothing but the land-based ecosystem. The ecosystem which is located on the land. The best example, the land-based ecosystem like forest ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, desert ecosystem. Where they are located? All they are there on the land. The forest ecosystem again can be classified into two types, like rainforest ecosystem, like deciduous forest ecosystem. The rainforest, otherwise called as the evergreen forest, this is one type of ecosystem. Deciduous forest, the grasslands again can be classified into two types. Tropical grasslands ecosystem, temperate grassland ecosystem, Also the desert can be of two types. The hot desert ecosystem, cold desert ecosystem. All they are located on the land, and so they are called as terrestrial ecosystems, right? All they are located on the land, and so they are called as terrestrial ecosystem. Now coming to aquatic ecosystem. What do you mean by aquatic ecosystem? Aquatic, as the name represents, is a water ecosystem. Again, this can be of two types. What type of ecosystem can be there? We can find the aquatic ecosystem, either it can be fresh water or the saline water. Is a marine ecosystem. What do you mean by marine ecosystem? Either it can be sea or ocean. The ocean like Pacific, the ocean like Atlantic, ocean like Indian, or the sea like Caspian Sea, Arabian Sea, Bay of Bengal. All they are the seas, sea bodies. These are the marine ecosystem. Whereas the freshwater ecosystem. Freshwater ecosystem. What is this freshwater ecosystem? Again, you can talk about the different things like lake ecosystem, river ecosystem, the fresh water which is present in the rivers, the fresh water that is present in the lakes. Also in the salt water, you can talk about the lakes, the salt water lakes are also there. They are different types of ecosystem. Whatever the life that is present in this ecosystem cannot be found here. Whatever the interactions that are happening in this ecosystem cannot be found here. Each and every ecosystem is having its unique characteristics. This is what the different types of ecosystem. Marine ecosystem, freshwater ecosystem. Within the freshwater you can find the lake ecosystem, the pond ecosystem, the river ecosystem. You can classify so many. But the general understanding is the aquatic ecosystem nothing but salt water, fresh water. Is it clear? This is about the different types of ecosystem. One is land based, another one is water based. But a very, very important interlinkage is present between these two. In between these two, what is one? This is the land, this is water. Suppose if this is the land, this is the ocean. Somewhere both they are intersecting. Somewhere both they are intersecting. That zone where there is a transition, pay attention, the zone where there is a transition, the zone where there is a transition between the two contrasting ecosystem, this is what called as ecotone. Come on, write this one, we will discuss ecotone. Come on, give the heading as types of ecosystems. Give the heading as types of ecosystems. There are two types of ecosystems. There are two types of ecosystems. One, terrestrial ecosystem, within the bracket land based ecosystem. One, terrestrial ecosystem, within the bracket land based ecosystem. Land based ecosystem. Then aquatic ecosystem, water based ecosystem. Yes, within aquatic you can talk about even wetland also. There are number of, I have given the broad classification, right? Now under the terrestrial ecosystem, if you want to add the wetland, yes, you can add wetland. Here also you can add wetland. You can add so many things like, this is a broad classification. Come on, under the terrestrial ecosystem, the first one, forest ecosystem. What do you mean by aerial ecosystem? What is aerial ecosystem? There is no such thing called as aerial ecosystem. Brajinder, a very good creative question, okay? Don't go to that aerial ecosystem, okay? What is aerial? Aerial is nothing but the air, nothing but overview. What is there? Atmosphere. The life that is present in atmosphere is nothing but is having a connectivity on the land, okay? don't go to that particular minute things, okay. If at all it is ecological, what is called as research in the ecology, then we can talk about that one. But here for the civil services, that much is not important, okay. Now, forest ecosystem, under the forest there can be two types. One is rainforest, another is deciduous forest. Whereas the grassland, again there are two types of grasslands. One is savanna grassland, otherwise called as tropical grassland. The next one is temperate grassland, nothing but steppe grassland. What is savanna? Nothing but tropical. What is temperate? Nothing but steppe, right? Then desert ecosystem, you can find hot desert, second one cold desert. Then coming to aquatic. Under the aquatic, you can classify the aquatic ecosystem as different classifications are there. What is the classification I have given is a general classification. If you want to classify, just classify as salt water and the fresh water. Come on, let me show you one more classification. Instead of this one, if at all you are getting confused, let me show another one by the side here. You can write the same thing or you can keep the other one also. This is up to us how to classify, right? This is what the aquatic ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystem can be divided into two types. One is called as saline water, another one is called as fresh water. Under the saline water, you can find seas, you can find oceans, you can find wetlands, you can find lakes. Is there any difference between the lake and the wetland? Yes, there is a difference, right? Then in the fresh water, again the river, the lakes, the wetlands, the ponds. Can there be any sea which is fresh water? No. There is no such sea which is a fresh water sea, right? These are what the different types of ecosystems. Is it clear? Either you can write this one or you can write this one. Any of the one, okay? But what should be having a good clarity in your mind is, yes, the aquatic system, there are two types. One is fresh water and one is called as saline water. Is it okay? This is what the aquatic ecosystem. Within this one you can talk about number of like seas. All the seas are saline water. All the oceans are saline water. Then wetlands which are saline. The best example Chilaka Lake. The lakes which are saline. The best example So Moriri, Pong Song So. The lakes like So Moriri. So Moriri. What is called as So Moriri. Then Pong Song So. These are the salt body lakes. Clear? These are the divisions or the classification. Now, in between, very, very important, give the heading as ecotone. Give the heading as ecotone. What is ecotone? Come on, understand this one. Where shall I write? Come on, let me rub this one. Give the heading as ecotone. Give the heading as ecotone and stop writing. Don't write anything, listen. First of all, listen. This is the land, this is the water. This is the land, this is the sea or maybe ocean. Right? Now, whenever you are talking about the land, it is called as terrestrial ecosystem. Whenever you are talking about the water, it is called as marine ecosystem or aquatic ecosystem. Now, what is happening? A river is coming like this. A river is flowing like this. And it has created a wide mouth. This is what called as delta. This is what? The delta. What type of water will be there in the river? Absolutely fresh water. There is no question of salt water. Right? The rivers are the freshwater rivers, right? When the rivers are bringing the fresh water, sweet water, and they are draining into sea, which is having the salt water, exactly at the point where there is a confluence of the river with the sea, there you can find unique type of waters. You can find unique type of waters. What are these waters called as? These waters are not as saline as the sea water. These waters are not as fresh as the river water. Such a water is called as brackish water. This is called as brackish waters. Is it okay? In this brackish water is the best example for transition ecosystem, which is called as ecotone. The brackish waters are the best example for the ecotone. Not only brackish waters, the backwaters. The backwaters are the ecotones. You can find the estuaries. In the estuaries you can find the ecotone. In the deltas you can find the ecotone. In the creeks you can find the ecotone. You can find the creeks, you can find the deltas, you can find the estuary, you can find brackish waters, you can find backwaters. In all these areas, what you can find is the ecotone. But what is ecotone? Come on, define. Write down the definition of ecotone. Write down the definition of ecotone. What is ecotone? What is ecotone? Come on. Ecotone is the transition ecosystem. What is ecotone? Is the transition zone between the ecotone is a transition zone between two contrasting ecosystems. Is a transition zone between two contrasting ecosystems. What is ecotone? Ecotone is the transition zone between two contrasting ecosystems with unique characters, with a unique characteristics. What are these characteristics? Come on, with a unique characteristics. Now, what is the meaning of this one? Come on, what is the meaning of this one? What is ecotone? Ecotone can be brackish water, backwaters, estuaries, deltas, creeks, and all these areas. What is the characteristics? What are the characteristics of the ecotone? Ecotone, since it is the confluence of the fresh water and the salt water, there the fresh water will keep on bringing the fresh sediments. What are sediments? Sediments are nothing but the broken rocky pieces. What are rocks? Rocks are nothing but the minerals. When the fresh minerals are added here, you can find greater nutrients. When the nutrients are available, because of more and more nutrients, you can find the growth of good number of species. These species are having greater ecological productivity. They are having greater ecological productivity. What do you mean by ecological productivity? Nothing but the capacity to produce more and more food. When the food is available, all different species comes from different regions and they can stay there. When different species comes and stays in this area, why they are coming and staying? Because of availability of the food. When the food is available, the fishes from different parts, they comes and stays here. The lobsters, the prawns, the crabs, all these marine species comes and stays here. Not only this one, the birds from different area, because of availability of fish, because of availability of the food. The honeybees, they will be coming here. They will be collecting all the nectar, and you can find more number of honey hives here, making this entire area a rich biodiversity. Making this entire area a rich biodiversity. This is what the ecotone. What type of species you can find here? Why the species are so called as edge species? The species are called as edge species, and the effect is called as edge effect. Why the species are called as edge species, and why the effect is called as edge effect, we will be seeing this one in the next class. We'll start with the class with the edge species and the edge effect and explaining the characteristics again. Clear? This is what the ecotone. Ecotone is very, very important, right? Where you can find very great ecological productivity. When the ecological productivity is more, biodiversity will be more. What do you mean by biodiversity? Life forms, various life forms you can find. You can find the life form in the water, you can find the life forms in the air, you can find on the trees, within the trees, bushes. So much of life will be there. Therefore, this area is called as rich biodiversity region. Clear? We will see the remaining things in the next class. Until then, take care. Have a wonderful day tomorrow. Celebrate the festival. Enjoy the festival like anything, and come back with the flying colors. After the festival, we will be discussing the ecotone. Is it okay? Until then, take care. See you. Bye-bye.